If you notice your anxiety starting to rise and it's creating some problems for you, then there are a number of things you can do to help with that. So one of the things is, of course, to notice where the threat might be coming from, what you're worried about, to notice if you're worrying too much, to try to get that under control, to do things like look after yourself, to make sure that you've got a bit of you time, that you're not necessarily rushing all the time, you're spending a bit of time focusing on what you need to do and prioritizing.
Exercising helped me a lot. Just even going for a walk or going to the gym, dancing, anything to just put your mind at ease a bit.
When you feel more anxious and physically everything's going, your heart's pounding and so on, it can often be helpful to adopt a very calm pattern of breathing, where you're breathing largely through your nose and breathing slowly, almost like a baby when they're asleep. And that can be a very calming and helpful thing to do. When we try to make ourselves safe, the thing we call safety-seeking behaviours, sometimes it can mean that we don't discover the things we're afraid of don't happen. And that's something that can actually make anxiety very persistent, because you become anxious, you do something which you think has stopped something bad happening, it doesn't happen, and so you think, well, that was effective, and so you carry on doing that unhelpful thing, and it accelerates your anxiety. Safety-seeking behaviours in the situation, you might hold on to somebody to make sure you don't fall over, or by rushing out of the situation. If you're feeling anxious, there's a good chance that you're thinking things are more dangerous than they really are. If that's happening, then it's a good idea to catch that thought and then to challenge it to see whether or not it's actually realistic. And if you do that, then you'll find that your anxiety tends to diminish.
Something else I do is write down what I'm grateful for and what I'm worried about. And when you weigh up the two together, what you're worried about seems really small compared to what you're grateful for.
Sometimes when we feel anxious, it's because we're confronting a real problem, and under those circumstances, it can be helpful to actually use a strategy to problem solve. That would mean being very clear about what the problem is, what the steps required to deal with it might be, and then implementing those. And that can be a very helpful thing to do in order to reduce our anxiety.
I feel like now I've become a lot more aware of what makes me happy and seeing a bigger picture, thinking more positive rather than focusing on negative things.
If someone finds that they're becoming anxious about particular situations they're tending to avoid, then the obvious thing to do, and the thing that we know is very helpful, is to help that person to systematically confront their anxiety, perhaps taking it step by step, so that they start a little bit by confronting the situation, but eventually get to the point when they're fully in the situation. And what happens is your anxiety reduces, and you discover the things you're afraid of weren't going to happen in the first place. Anxiety is a completely normal response, and everybody experiences some level of anxiety, but for some people it can become particularly severe and particularly persistent. And that's the time when you need to think about seeking help, perhaps support from your loved ones, or even professional help as it starts to interfere with a person's life.
To help me manage things, first of all, I spoke to people about it. That was a big thing for me because I didn't really want to actually go and speak to people, but it helps you. Getting that reassurance that someone is there for you.